Have you ever heard of a trader who approached the markets not like a gambler, but like an astronomer? Well, today we're diving into the world of one of Wall Street's most legendary and, frankly, mysterious figures, W.D. Gann. This was a man who, way back in the early 20th century, looked at the chaos of the financial markets and believed he could see a hidden order, a mathematical code behind every single rise and fall. And this quote? This is the key that unlocks his entire way of thinking. The future is but a repetition of the past. For Gann, this wasn't just a saying, it was the fundamental law of the universe. He saw the market not as a bunch of random, chaotic events, but as this grand, repeating symphony of cycles. He believed that history didn't just rhyme, it repeated itself with an almost scary mathematical precision.
So that got him asking the one question that would drive his entire life's work. Could you actually predict the market with the same certainty that an astronomer predicts an eclipse? I mean, what a question, right? Gann was absolutely convinced the answer was yes. So let's dig into how he came to such a wild conclusion.
To really get where Gann was coming from with these radical theories, you have to understand the man himself. See, he wasn't some Wall Street insider. His whole perspective was shaped far, far away from New York, in the cotton fields of Texas, and through this obsessive, decade-long hunt for knowledge. It all started back in 1878 in Texas. Gann's world was shaped by two huge forces, cotton and the Bible. And that combo, it was everything. Cotton taught him the nuts and bolts of how commodities work. The Bible, which he practically memorized, showed him a universe built on cycles, numbers, and prophecy. But when he first tried his hand at trading, it was a complete disaster. He later said he was just running on pure emotion, hope, greed, and fear. But that failure lit a fire under him. For the next 10 years, he went on this incredible quest, studying ancient math, numerology, even astrology. He traveled all over, to England, to Egypt, searching for these universal laws he was sure had to govern the markets. By 1908, he lands in New York, and he's got something he calls the master time factor. And believe me, within a year, his predictions were so spot on that Wall Street had no choice but to sit up and pay attention. And, this was the big lesson he took away from his own early failures. The market is a brutal teacher. He saw that almost everyone, over 90% of people who jumped in without real knowledge, without a real plan, they were just going to lose their money. And that became the absolute foundation of his approach. Knowledge first, trading second, always. Okay, now we're getting to the absolute heart of Gann's worldview. It's a concept that sounds more like something out of a physics lab or a spiritual text than a trading book. For Gann, everything, and I mean everything, boiled down to what he called the law of vibration. So what on earth did he mean by that? Well, try to imagine that every single stock, every commodity, has its own unique energy, its own musical note, if you will, its rate of vibration. Gann believed these vibrations made things move in structured, predictable patterns, not just bouncing around randomly. He thought the ultimate secret was to figure out that unique frequency. Because if you could do that, you could predict its future path through the only two dimensions that mattered, time and price. And this chart right here shows you exactly what he meant. See, for Gann, time and price weren't two separate things. Nope, they were partners in a dance, locked in this perfect geometric harmony. He called it squaring time and price. So look at this chart. A move of 43 points up in price is perfectly balanced by 43 units of time, let's say 43 days. When price and time hit that perfect one-to-one balance, Gann expected a huge turn in the market. It was all about finding that moment of predictable geometric equilibrium. So how did he actually use these big abstract ideas on a real-life price chart? Well, Gann came up with this really unique set of tools to map out what he saw as the market's hidden geometry. Let's take a quick look at a few of his go-to methods. First up, you have his famous Gann angles. Now, these are not just random trend lines you slap on a chart. No way. They are precise geometric angles that you draw from major market tops and bottoms. The big one, the most important one, was the 1-by-1 angle, a perfect 45-degree line. That represented a perfect balance. 1 unit of price for every 1 unit of time. Gann believed these lines acted like invisible forces, like support and resistance, guiding where the market was headed. And if the price broke through one of these angles, whoa, that was a huge signal that the whole balance of the market had just shifted. Second, the man was obsessed with time. Gann was convinced that the big market events, the huge highs, the crashing lows, the panics, they weren't random at all. He believed they happened at predictable intervals, based on natural cycles that could be anything from a few minutes to massive 60 or 90-year cycles. He would literally look at the anniversary dates of past highs and lows, convinced they were hotspots for another potential turn. It was all about studying history to forecast the timing of the future. And third, he used pure math, specifically the squares of numbers. Just look at this S&P chart. See how the price seems to just magically stop and reverse at these key levels? Levels like 169, which is 13 squared, or 225, which is 15 squared. And Gann would say, that's no accident. For him, these were natural harmonic levels of support and resistance that were literally built into the market's DNA. They were points where the energy was just destined to shift. Now get this, just to give you an idea of how valuable this knowledge was thought to be at the time. Back in the 1920s, Gann charged $5,000 for his most advanced course. Now, to put that in perspective, that's like paying over $50,000 today. Can you imagine? People were lining up to pay a fortune to learn his methods, which just tells you everything about how powerful his forecasts were seen to be. Okay, so you might not be ready to start drawing geometric angles and squaring numbers on your charts just yet. And that's totally fine, but the core of Gann's philosophy has some incredibly valuable lessons for any modern trader or investor. So let's break down his wisdom into a few timeless rules that are just as powerful today as they were 100 years ago. The big theme here, the absolute main takeaway, is that knowledge is your single greatest asset, way more important than money. Gann insisted you have to treat trading like a profession, not a trip to the casino. You have to study the past like it's your job. You have to get emotion, that hope for a jackpot, the fear of a loss, out of your head. You need a set of fixed rules, and you never, ever guess. And one of his most important rules was about protecting your money. Never, ever risk more than 10% of your capital on one single trade. It's all about discipline, not luck. This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures how frustrated he was with how the average person just dives into the market. I mean, think about it. We all get that it takes years of intense study to become a doctor or an engineer, right? Yet, people will throw their life savings into the market based on a hot tip or a gut feeling with zero preparation. To Gann, that was just insane, and it was the #1 reason people failed. So when you boil it all down, if there's one single message to take away from the life of W.D. Gann, it's not about some secret magic formula. It's about a relentless, lifelong dedication to the pursuit of knowledge. I absolutely love this quote because it completely changes how you think about learning. All those hours you spend studying charts, reading books, learning how markets really work, that isn't lost time. It's an investment. You're literally depositing capital directly into your brain. Capital that no market crash can ever take away from you. With knowledge, you can start small and grow big. But without it, as Gann saw over and over again, even a huge fortune can disappear in the blink of an eye. Gann never stopped learning, right up until he died at age 77. And that spirit of constant education, that's his real legacy. So if his journey has inspired you and you want to keep building your own foundation of market knowledge, a great next step is to check out the Smart Wallet Investor channel on YouTube. They have some really clear, modern insights that are perfect for today's markets. Thanks so much for joining me.